Alguna vez has felt your heart beating so fast it feels like it might burst out of your chest? The sensation that grips you in the middle of the night when the world is quiet but your mind is screaming. That overwhelming flood of fear that seems to come from nowhere and everyone's. The clock reads 3:17 a.m., and while everyone else sleeps peacefully, you're fighting an invisible battle with your own body and mind. Nocturnal panic, that midnight monster that particularly haunts those in their golden years. Striking without warning and leaving you gasping for breath, your hands trembling, your thoughts racing toward the worst possibilities. For many over 65, these nighttime episodes become more than just occasional disturbances. They transform into dreaded nightly visitors that steal not only sleep but also peace of mind, independence, and joy. The darkness becomes an unwelcome companion, a time when every sensation in your body is amplified, when every creak in the house sounds like an omen, when memories and worries conspire together to create the perfect storm of anxiety. You lie there wondering if something is terribly wrong, if tonight might be your last night, if you should call someone or try to weather it alone. The isolation of these moments is perhaps the cruelest aspect, feeling utterly alone with your terror while the rest of the world slumbers. What many don't realize is that nocturnal panic episodes are surprisingly common among seniors, affecting nearly 1 in 4 adults over 65, yet they remain underdiagnosed and undertreated. The good news, the truly life-changing news that I'm excited to share with you today, is that there are specific, simple approaches that have shown remarkable effectiveness specifically for this age group. Methods that don't require complicated medical regimens or expensive therapies. Techniques that work with the wisdom and experience you've accumulated over decades, rather than against it. Through years of working with older adults experiencing these frightening nighttime episodes, I've witnessed transformations that seem almost miraculous. People who went from dreading bedtime to looking forward to peaceful nights. People just like you, who thought their nocturnal panic was simply something they had to endure as part of aging, until they discovered these 3 remarkably effective approaches. The beautiful thing about these methods is their simplicity. They don't demand drastic lifestyle changes or complex routines. They're gentle, respectful interventions that acknowledge your life experience and work harmoniously with your natural rhythms. And most importantly, they've been proven to work specifically for those over 65, addressing the unique physiological and psychological aspects of panic that emerge in our later years. What would it mean to you to reclaim your nights, to lie down at bedtime with a sense of calm anticipation rather than creeping dread? To know that if panic does attempt to visit, you possess the exact tools needed to send it away before it can take hold. This isn't just about sleeping better, though that's certainly a wonderful benefit. It's about restoring a fundamental sense of safety. It's about liberation from fear. It's about the dignity of managing your own well-being with confidence and skill. I want to welcome you with open arms to this safe space we've created together. Thank you, truly, sincerely, thank you, for joining me on this journey of exploration. And I know it might have taken courage to click on this video, to acknowledge that nighttime panic is affecting your life, or the life of someone you care about. That willingness to face challenges directly is exactly the strength that will carry you through to resolution. I see you, I value your presence here, and I'm honored that you've chosen to spend this time with me. Please know that everything we discuss today comes from a place of deep respect for your experience and your resilience. You've navigated decades of life's complexities, and that wisdom you carry is actually one of your greatest assets in addressing panic. I want you to feel completely at ease as we move through this information together. There's no judgment here, only understanding and practical support. Nighttime panic doesn't reflect any weakness or failure on your part. It's simply a pattern that has developed in your nervous system, and patterns can be changed with the right approach. Many who watch this video have been silently dealing with these frightening episodes for years, believing they were alone in their experience, or that nothing could be done. If that's been your story, I want you to know that today marks a turning point. The strategies we'll explore have helped countless individuals reclaim their peaceful nights and their sense of security. What works beautifully for those over 65 is often quite different from what helps younger adults with anxiety. That's why general anxiety advice may have seemed inadequate for your situation. Today, we're focusing specifically on approaches tailored to your unique physiological and psychological needs at this stage of life. As we proceed, I encourage you to listen to your own inner. You know yourself better than anyone else possibly could. Take what resonates with you from our discussion and feel free to adapt these suggestions to fit your particular circumstances. This isn't about imposing a rigid system, but rather offering tools that you can make your own. Above all, I want you to finish watching today with a renewed sense of hope and practical steps you can begin implementing tonight. Positive change is absolutely possible, regardless of how long you've been experiencing these episodes, or how severe they've become. Many before you have found their way back to peaceful nights, and I firmly believe you can too. The nature of nocturnal panic in seniors is distinct from general anxiety, or the occasional middle-of-the-night worry. It has specific characteristics and unique triggers that make it particularly challenging, but also particularly responsive to the right interventions. What we're addressing today isn't just difficulty falling asleep or garden-variety stress. We're focusing on those intense episodes of fear that ambush you in the darkness, that send your heart racing and your mind spiraling, that make you wonder if you're having a heart attack or losing your grip on reality. These episodes have a neurobiological basis that's especially relevant to those over 65. As we age, certain changes occur in our brain chemistry, sleep architecture, and stress response system. Our circadian rhythms, the internal clock that regulates sleep and wakefulness, often shift. The production of melatonin and other sleep-regulating hormones may decrease. And perhaps most significantly, the amygdala, our brain's alarm system, can become more sensitive, more prone to false alarms, particularly during the vulnerability of sleep. This isn't something you've done wrong or a sign of mental fragility. It's a physiological reality that many seniors face, though it's rarely discussed openly. Furthermore, the life circumstances common in older adulthood can contribute to this pattern. Retirement, loss of loved ones, health challenges, changes in living situations. All of these significant transitions can create a backdrop of uncertainty that makes the nervous system more vigilant, more ready to sound the alarm at the slightest provocation. This is especially true during the night hours when our conscious defenses are lowered and subconscious concerns can emerge with greater force. What makes nocturnal panic particularly distressing is its seeming randomness and the intense physical sensations that accompany it. But here's what's important to understand. Despite how overwhelming these episodes feel, they follow predictable patterns and respond remarkably well to specific interventions. They are not random attacks, but rather the culmination of identifiable processes that we can learn to recognize and redirect. The three approaches we'll discuss today address nocturnal panic at its roots, not just masking symptoms, but actually resolving the underlying mechanisms that create these episodes in the first place. They work synergistically to calm the overactive alarm system in your brain, restore healthy sleep patterns, and build your capacity to remain centered even when anxiety attempts to arise. Most importantly, they're approaches that honor the unique strengths and challenges of your life stage, drawing on resources you already possess rather than imposing complicated external solutions. Let me share with you the three key approaches that have consistently shown remarkable effectiveness for those over 65 experiencing nocturnal panic. Each of these methods addresses a different aspect of the panic cycle, creating a comprehensive system for reclaiming peaceful nights. First, we'll explore physiological grounding, specific techniques that directly interrupt the body's panic response by activating your parasympathetic nervous system, what scientists call the rest and digest mode. These are physical interventions that literally change your biochemistry within minutes, halting the cascade of stress hormones that fuel panic episodes. The beauty of these techniques is that they work regardless of what your mind is doing. Even if your thoughts are racing, these physical practices can bring your body back to balance, which then helps calm your mind. The second approach we'll cover is cognitive anchoring, a set of mental strategies specifically designed for the middle-of-the-night thought patterns that characterize nocturnal panic in seniors. Unlike general mindfulness practices, these techniques address the unique thought distortions that emerge during nighttime anxiety, such as catastrophic health worries, existential concerns, and time disorientation. These methods help you regain perspective even in the disorienting darkness of 3 a.m. Our third approach is environmental harmonizing, practical adjustments to your sleep environment and evening routine that dramatically reduce the likelihood of panic episodes triggering in the first place. These are not generic sleep hygiene tips, but rather specific modifications that address the unique triggers and vulnerabilities of those over 65. These adjustments work with your body's changing needs and neurological patterns to create an environment where panic struggles to take hold. What makes these approaches so effective is that they work together synergistically, creating a robust system of protection against nocturnal panic. They don't just address symptoms, they actually reset the patterns in your nervous system that have been maintaining the cycle of panic. They're designed to be gentle, respectful, and easy to implement, even for those with physical limitations or health concerns. And perhaps most importantly, they put you back in control, transforming you from a helpless victim of random panic attacks to an empowered individual with specific, effective tools at your disposal. As we explore each approach in detail, I encourage you to consider which aspects resonate most strongly with your personal experience. While the complete system offers the most comprehensive protection, even implementing just one of these approaches can create significant improvement in your nighttime experience. These methods have been refined through years of work specifically with seniors experiencing nocturnal anxiety, and they reflect a deep understanding of the unique needs and strengths of this life stage. Now, Let's delve deeper into the first approach, physiological grounding. The reason this technique is so powerful, especially for those over 65, is that it directly addresses the autonomic nervous system dysfunction that often underlies nocturnal panic. As we age, our nervous system can become more reactive and less resilient, making us particularly vulnerable to the physical cascade of panic, racing heart, shallow breathing, muscle tension, sweating, and that overwhelming sense. What's remarkable about physiological grounding is that it interrupts this cascade at its source, activating powerful neural pathways that signal safety to your brain and body. The first component of this approach is the 4-7-8 diaphragmatic reset. This isn't just deep breathing. It's a specific pattern that has been shown to rapidly decrease sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight-or-flight response, while increasing parasympathetic tone, the calming response. The technique involves inhaling quietly through your nose for a count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 7, and exhaling completely through your mouth with a whooshing sound for a count of 8. What makes this particularly effective for seniors experiencing panic is the extended exhale, which activates the vagus nerve, a critical pathway in restoring calm to an agitated system. For those with respiratory concerns or limitations, even a modified version with shorter counts can be remarkably effective. The key is maintaining the ratio, with the exhale longer than the inhale. The second component is sequential muscle relaxation, a systematic process of progressively relaxing specific muscle groups that tend to hold tension during anxiety episodes. Unlike traditional progressive muscle relaxation that requires tensing before relaxing, this modified approach for seniors focuses solely on the release of tension, making it gentler and more appropriate for those with joint pain, arthritis, or other physical limitations. Starting with your facial muscles and moving methodically down to your toes, you'll learn to identify and release subtle tension that you might not even realize you're holding, tension that perpetuates the cycle of anxiety. The third component of physiological grounding is thermal regulation, which uses the powerful connection between body temperature and anxiety states. Research has shown that specific cooling of certain areas, like the forehead and wrists, while warming others, the feet, can rapidly interrupt panic symptoms by triggering autonomic nervous system shifts. This component is particularly valuable for seniors, as age-related changes in thermoregulation can sometimes contribute to nocturnal anxiety. These three components of physiological grounding work together to create a powerful interruption to the physical experience of panic. What's especially valuable about this approach is that it doesn't require you to think your way out of panic. It works directly with your body's systems to restore balance, even when your mind is racing with worries. Many seniors report that this approach not only helps during acute episodes, but also creates lasting changes in their nervous system's resilience over time. The beautiful thing about these techniques is that they become more effective with practice, building new neural pathways that make panic less likely to occur in the first place. I need to pause here and ask you something important. What time of night does anxiety usually hit you the hardest? You know, each person feels anxiety uniquely, and sharing this experience can be the first step to understanding it better. I know you may have never talked about this with anyone, but maybe you think no one would understand or that your feelings aren't important enough. But I want you to know that here, in this space, your experience matters deeply. Leave us a comment below completing the sentence. My anxiety usually appears when. Your courage in sharing might be exactly what another person needs to read today to feel less alone. And in upcoming videos, we'll address specifically those moments you share. This is a community of mutual support, where every word of yours is welcomed with respect and understanding. I've noticed over years of working with seniors experiencing nocturnal panic that certain patterns emerge. Some find themselves most vulnerable in the hours just after falling asleep, when the transition from wakefulness to sleep can trigger the body's alarm systems. Others find the early morning hours between 2 and 4 a.m. particularly challenging, when melatonin levels naturally dip and the body's temperature regulation shifts. Still others notice their anxiety peaks during bathroom trips, when the transition from lying down to standing can trigger changes in blood pressure that the anxious mind misinterprets as danger. Understanding your unique pattern can help us tailor these approaches even more specifically to your needs. Whatever your pattern might be, please know that you're not alone in experiencing. The very nature of nocturnal anxiety creates a sense of isolation. Lying awake while the world sleeps can feel terribly lonely. But in reality, millions of other seniors are navigating these same waters, and many have found their way to calmer shores using these exact techniques we're discussing today. Your comment not only helps us create more targeted content for future videos, but it also helps create that sense of community that is so healing when dealing with anxiety. After all, there's something powerfully reassuring about knowing that others understand exactly what you're going through, that your experience is valid and shared by many others. So please, Take a moment when you finish watching to share your experience in the comments. Your voice matters here, and your perspective might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. Now let's explore the second approach in our system, cognitive anchoring. This set of mental strategies addresses the thought patterns that feed nocturnal panic, particularly those unique to seniors. What makes these techniques different from general cognitive approaches to anxiety is their specific design for the middle-of-the-night context, when your thinking is naturally different from daytime cognition. During normal sleep cycles, your prefrontal cortex, the rational problem-solving part of your brain, becomes less active, while emotional centers remain more alert. This natural shift makes you more vulnerable to worried thinking during nighttime wakefulness. Add to this the disorientation that can come with darkness and the absence of daytime distractions, and you have the perfect conditions for anxious thoughts to spiral out of control. The first key strategy in cognitive anchoring is what I call reality bridging. This technique acknowledges that at 3 a.m., your perception of reality can become distorted in specific ways. Health concerns may seem more dire, existential worries more pressing, and problems more insurmountable than they would in daylight hours. Reality bridging creates a mental pathway back to a more balanced perspective through pre-established daylight truths, statements you prepare during calm daytime hours that specifically counter your common nighttime thought distortion. For example, if nighttime brings fears about physical symptoms indicating serious illness, your reality bridge might be, "My doctor gave me a clean bill of health last month. These sensations have happened before and passed without incident." In the morning, these concerns always seem less threatening. The second strategy is temporal orientation, which addresses the time distortion that often occurs during nocturnal anxiety. When panic strikes in the middle of the night, it can create a sensation of endless suffering, as if the night will never end and relief will never come. This strategy uses specific mental techniques to reorient yourself to the temporary nature of both the night and the panic episode. It involves creating concrete awareness of time's passage and the approaching dawn, which helps counter the eternal present feeling that often accompanies nighttime anxiety. The third component of cognitive anchoring is narrative redirection, a powerful technique that harnesses your brain's natural affinity for stories. Rather than fighting against worried thoughts, which often only strengthens them, this approach gently shifts your mental focus to pre-selected narratives that engage your imagination in positive, absorbing ways. For seniors, drawing on rich lifetime memories can be particularly effective. Revisiting in detail a favorite vacation, mentally walking through a beloved childhood home, or recreating the steps of a meaningful achievement. The key is selecting memories that engage multiple senses and positive emotions, creating a mental environment where anxiety struggles to persist. What makes cognitive anchoring especially effective for seniors is that it works with, rather than against, the natural changes in cognition that occur with age. It doesn't require learning complex new cognitive skills, but rather leverages the wisdom, perspective, and rich life experience you've already accumulated. Many seniors find that these techniques not only help manage nocturnal panic, but also enhance their overall relationship with their thoughts, bringing greater peace to their daytime hours as well. And the best part is that these strategies become more automatic and effective with practice, eventually creating new mental habits that make you more resilient to anxious thinking in all contexts. Let's continue with our practical applications of these approaches, focusing now on specific techniques that you can implement tonight. For physiological grounding, one of the most effective variations for seniors is the 3-3-6 breath reset. When you feel the first signs of anxiety emerging, perhaps a quickening heartbeat or a sense of restlessness, sit up slightly in bed and place one hand on your abdomen. Breathe in gently through your nose for a count of 3. Pause for a count of 3. Then exhale slowly through slightly pursed lips for a count of 6. The extended exhale is crucial, as it activates the vagus nerve and shifts your nervous system toward a calming response. Do this for just 5 breath cycles, and you'll likely notice a significant decrease in physical tension. What makes this particularly suitable for seniors is its gentleness. It doesn't require deep breathing that might be uncomfortable for those with respiratory limitations. Another powerful technique is alternating temperature contact. Keep a small thermos of warm, not hot water, and a cool pack near your bedside. When anxiety begins to rise, apply the cool pack briefly to your forehead, the back of your neck, or your wrists for about 30 seconds. Then contrast with the warmth applied to your hands or feet. This temperature alternation sends powerful regulatory signals to your autonomic nervous system, interrupting the escalation of panic symptoms. For cognitive anchoring, one of the most accessible techniques is what I call the 3-question reset. When worried thoughts begin spiraling, ask yourself these 3 specific questions. Is this thought helping me right now? What would I tell a dear friend who shared this worry with, and how might this concern appear to me in the morning light? These questions activate different neural networks than those involved in the worry cycle, creating cognitive distance from anxious thoughts and re-engaging your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain that naturally becomes less active during nighttime hours. Prepare these questions during the day, and perhaps even write them on a note card by your bedside for easy reference. For environmental harmonizing, one simple yet powerful adjustment is creating a sensory anchor, a specific combination of gentle sensory inputs that your brain learns to associate with safety and calm. This might include a specific essential oil like lavender in a bedside diffuser, a particular texture like a silky pillowcase or soft blanket that you touch mindfully, and perhaps a very soft background sound like a white noise machine set to a gentle rainfall sound. When used consistently during calm times, these sensory inputs become powerful cues that help your nervous system remain regulated, even during vulnerable moments. What makes this approach particularly valuable for seniors is that it leverages multiple sensory pathways, creating redundancy that helps compensate for any age-related sensory changes. Another practical environmental adjustment is the graduated lighting strategy. Many seniors find that complete darkness can be disorienting and anxiety-provoking, while bright light disrupts important melatonin production. The solution is strategically placed amber or red spectrum nightlights that provide just enough illumination to orient yourself without suppressing melatonin. Placing these lights along the path to the bathroom can be especially helpful, as many nocturnal panic episodes begin during nighttime bathroom trips, when the transition from lying down to standing can trigger changes in blood pressure that an anxious mind might misinterpret as danger. Now let's explore more deeply our third approach, environmental harmonizing. This strategy recognizes that your physical surroundings and routines have a profound impact on your nervous system's tendency toward calm or alarm, especially during the vulnerable night hour. For seniors, this aspect is particularly important because age-related changes in sensory processing and sleep architecture can make you more susceptible to environmental triggers. The first component of environmental harmonizing involves optimizing your sleep transitions, the critical period of 60-90 minutes before bedtime. Research specifically with older adults shows that this transition period sets the neurological and hormonal stage for your entire night. Rather than focusing just on sleep hygiene tips you've likely heard before, this approach creates a personalized protocol based on understanding your unique nervous system triggers and soothers. For many seniors, this includes a careful curation of evening news and media consumption. The developing brain becomes more emotionally reactive to negative news with age, while our ability to contextualizing that information may diminish. Creating boundaries around evening information intake, perhaps switching from news to nature programs, uplifting documentary, or gentle music after a certain hour, can dramatically reduce the subconscious anxiety that fuels nocturnal panic. The second component addresses circadian reinforcement, working with, rather than against, your body's natural daily rhythms. As we age, our circadian rhythms often shift and can become less pronounced, contributing to middle-of-the-night wakefulness and vulnerability to panic. This approach uses specific light exposure patterns during the day to help strengthen your circadian signals, making your body more resistant to nighttime awakening and anxiety. Morning sunlight exposure is particularly powerful, with research showing that just 10-15 minutes of natural morning light can significantly improve nighttime sleep quality and reduce nocturnal anxiety in seniors. For those in less sunny climates or with mobility limitations, specially designed light therapy lamps can provide similar benefits. The third component of environmental harmonizing focuses on nighttime nourishment, the often overlooked relationship between evening nutrition and nocturnal panic. Emerging research has revealed fascinating connections between specific nutrients and the brain's anxiety circuitry, with particular relevance for seniors. Certain foods contain precursors to neurotransmitters that promote calm, while others can trigger subtle inflammatory responses that heighten anxiety sensitivity. For instance, small evening snacks that combine complex carbohydrates with small amounts of protein, like whole grain crackers with a slice of turkey, can help stabilize blood sugar and promote the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate anxiety. Conversely, hidden sources of caffeine or sugar can disrupt sleep architecture and prime the nervous system for panic, even hours after consumption. What makes this approach so powerful is its personalization, recognizing that each person's environmental triggers and soothers are unique, especially in the senior years when sensitivities often change. Many who implement these environmental adjustments report that they not only experience fewer panic episodes, but also find their episodes are less intense and easier to manage when they do occur. The cumulative effect of these environmental changes creates a setting where your nervous system naturally tends toward calm rather than alarm, making you more resilient against the triggers that previously sparked panic. Let's explore the exploration of specific aspects of nocturnal panic that particularly affect those over 65. One critical factor that's rarely discussed is the interaction between physical health conditions and panic episodes. For many seniors, legitimate health concerns can become entangled with anxiety in complex ways that younger adults typically don't experience. For instance, conditions like atrial fibrillation, sleep apnea, or acid reflux can produce physical sensations that mimic panic symptoms or trigger genuine anxiety responses. This creates a particularly challenging situation where your body might be sending warning signals that have both physical and psychological components. Learning to differentiate between symptoms that require medical attention and those that are primarily anxiety-driven is a crucial skill. One effective approach is developing what I call a symptom clarity map, a personalized guide created in consultation with your healthcare provider that helps you navigate ambiguous physical sensations during vulnerable nighttime hours. This tool helps answer the difficult question, is this my health condition, or is this anxiety? With greater confidence, reducing the fear cycle that can turn minor physical sensations into full-blown panic episodes. Another aspect particularly relevant for seniors is the relationship between grief, loss, and nocturnal anxiety. Many in their later years have experienced significant losses of partners, friends, roles, or aspects of physical functioning. These losses often process through our subconscious during sleep periods, making the nighttime a vulnerable time for grief to emerge as anxiety. Understanding this connection can be tremendously liberating, as it helps reframe some anxiety experiences not as random panic, but as natural grief processing. Specific techniques for acknowledging and honoring grief before bedtime can significantly reduce its tendency to transform into middle-of-the-night panic. A third aspect worth exploring is the impact of medication interactions on nocturnal anxiety. Many seniors take multiple prescriptions, and the combined effect of these medications, particularly when they're metabolized differently as we age, can sometimes create biochemical conditions that increase vulnerability to anxiety and panic. Certain common medications for blood pressure, pain, or even allergies can have side effects that mimic or exacerbate anxiety symptoms, especially during the night hours when other distractions are minimal. A carefully timed medication review with your doctor or pharmacist, specifically looking at potential anxiety-related effects, can sometimes reveal simple adjustments that dramatically reduce nocturnal panic episodes. A fourth significant aspect for many seniors is the influence of subtle sensory changes on nighttime anxiety. Age-related changes in hearing, vision, and other senses can alter how we perceive our environment, especially in the darkness. What might have once been recognized easily as the house settling or the refrigerator cycling can become ambiguous and potentially threatening signals when sensory input is reduced. Creating environmental accommodations that address these sensory changes, such as nightlights that reduce visual ambiguity or soft background sounds that mask startling household noises, can dramatically decrease the likelihood of these sensory triggers initiating panic cycle. Now, I want to share the most powerful revelation I've discovered through years of working with seniors experiencing nocturnal panic: the unprecedented effectiveness of combining all three approaches we've discussed into a unified system. When physiological grounding, cognitive anchoring, and environmental harmonizing are implemented together, they create a synergistic effect that is far greater than the sum of its parts. This integrated approach addresses nocturnal panic at every level: physical, mental, and environmental, creating multiple layers of protection against anxiety episodes. The true power of this approach becomes evident when we understand what's happening neurologically. Each of these techniques influences different but interconnected systems in your brain and body. Physiological grounding works directly with your autonomic nervous system, activating parasympathetic pathways that signal safety and calm throughout your body. Cognitive anchoring engages higher brain functions to interrupt and redirect anxious thought patterns that fuel panic. Environmental harmonizing creates external conditions that support your nervous system's natural tendency toward regulation, rather than dysregulation. When all three systems are engaged, they create what neuroscientists call positive feedback loops, virtuous cycles where improvement in one area supports improvement in the others. Better physical regulation makes clearer thinking possible. Clearer thinking reduces physical tension, and supportive environmental factors make both physical and cognitive techniques more effective. For seniors specifically, this multi-system approach is particularly valuable because it creates redundancy. If one aspect of the system isn't working perfectly on a given night, the others can compensate, still preventing or minimizing panic episodes. This comprehensive approach also addresses one of the most challenging aspects of nocturnal: its tendency to create anticipatory anxiety, the fear of fear itself that can make bedtime an experience of dread rather than comfort. When you have a robust, multifaceted system in place for addressing panic if it arises, that very confidence often prevents panic from emerging in the first place. Many seniors who implement this integrated approach report not just a reduction in panic episodes, but a fundamental transformation in their relationship with nighttime. Bedtime becomes an opportunity for rest and renewal, rather than a feared battleground. The night hours become a friend, rather than an enemy. And perhaps most importantly, the sense of helplessness that often accompanies nocturnal panic is replaced with a profound feeling of empowerment and capability. This isn't just about managing symptoms, it's about reclaiming your fundamental right to peaceful rest and psychological safety. There are several complementary approaches that, while not central to our three-part system, can provide additional support for seniors dealing with nocturnal panic. One particularly promising area is the role of gentle movement practices specifically designed for older adults. Activities like Tai Chi, certain forms of yoga, and specialized stretching routines have shown remarkable benefits for anxiety regulation, especially when practiced consistently. These movements help release physical tension that can accumulate in the body and contribute to anxiety, while also promoting better circulation and nervous system balance. What makes these practices especially suitable for seniors is their adaptability. They can be modified for almost any physical condition or limitation, and many can even be performed seated or lying down. Another supportive approach worth exploring is the targeted use of certain herbal supplements that have shown specific benefits for nighttime anxiety in older adults. While I always recommend consulting with your healthcare provider before adding any supplement, research has identified several herbs with particular promise for seniors. Passion flower, for example, has been shown to improve sleep quality without the morning grogginess that can come with conventional sleep medications. Lemon balm appears to have specific benefits for reducing the physical symptoms that often accompany anxiety in older adults. And chamomile has demonstrated mild anxiolytic effects that are particularly suited to evening use. The key with any supplemental approach is proper timing, appropriate dosing, and awareness of potential interactions with medications, all factors that should be discussed with your healthcare provider. Social connection also plays a surprisingly powerful role in reducing vulnerability to nocturnal panic. Research has shown that socially engaged seniors experience significantly fewer anxiety episodes than those who are isolated, even when other risk factors are present. This doesn't mean you need a bustling social calendar. What matters most is having meaningful connections and regular contact with others who care about your well-being. Even brief social interactions during the day can have lasting effects on your nervous system's regulation throughout the night. For those with limited mobility or social opportunities, even scheduled phone calls with friends or family members can provide significant protective benefits against nocturnal anxiety. Lastly, working with your physician to optimize treatment for any underlying health conditions can substantially reduce nighttime anxiety triggers. Conditions like reflux, respiratory issues, or urinary problems often worsen at night and can either trigger or mimic panic symptoms. Ensuring these conditions are optimally managed can remove significant physical triggers for nocturnal anxiety. Sometimes simple adjustments to medication timing or dosage can make a substantial difference in nighttime symptom control, reducing physical triggers that might otherwise spark panic episodes. If you identified with what we talked about today, and you're looking for natural ways to calm your mind and live with more peace, our channel is a safe space created especially for you. Each week we share simple and effective techniques that have helped thousands of people recover their peace. We're together on this journey, and every step you take toward wellness matters. Click the subscribe button below and activate notifications to receive our videos as soon as they're published. Remember, you don't need to face anxiety alone, and small changes can make a big difference in your quality of life. Our upcoming videos will explore additional aspects of anxiety management specifically for seniors, from nutrition approaches that support brain health and emotional balance, to specialized breathing techniques that can be practiced even by those with respiratory limitations, to gentle movement practices that release anxiety from the body without putting strain on sensitive joints. We'll also be addressing specific situations that many of you have asked about: how to manage anxiety during medical procedure, techniques for traveling without panic even on long journeys, and approaches for explaining your anxiety needs to family members who may not fully understand what you're experiencing. In this community, we believe that your later years should be a time of peace, wisdom, not a time of increasing fear and limitation due to anxiety. The techniques we share are always practical, respect your life experience, and acknowledge the specific challenges and strengths that come with your stage of life. They're designed to empower you rather than create dependency, and to work with your unique physiology rather than against it. Many who've implemented these approaches report not just a reduction in anxiety, but a genuine renaissance in their enjoyment of life, rediscovering pleasures and possibilities they thought anxiety had permanently taken from them. Our goal is to help you not just manage anxiety, but truly thrive, making these years some of the most rewarding and peaceful. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation for your time and attention to your willingness to explore these approaches shows a commitment to your well-being that's truly admirable. Remember that implementing these strategies is not an all-or-nothing proposition. Even small steps in the right direction can yield meaningful benefits. You might choose to start with just one technique from each approach, perhaps the ones that seemed most accessible or relevant to your specific situation. Allow yourself grace and patience as you practice these new skills. Like any meaningful change, this is a process that unfolds over time, not an overnight transformation. Celebrate each small victory, each moment of choosing a calming breath over spiral thinking, each night with less anxiety than before, each morning you wake feeling more rested. These incremental improvements build upon each other, creating momentum toward greater well-being. I also want to encourage you to be gentle with yourself during setbacks, which are a normal part of any healing journey. If you experience a difficult night despite implementing these approaches, view it not as failure, but as valuable information that helps you refine your personal strategy. Every challenging episode contains clues about your unique triggers and needs. Many find it helpful to keep a simple nighttime journal, noting which techniques proved most helpful on particular nights and which circumstances seem to increase vulnerability. This personalized data becomes invaluable in tailoring your approach over time. Please remember that while these techniques have helped countless seniors reclaim peaceful nights, there's no substitute for proper medical care when needed. These approaches work beautifully alongside appropriate medical treatment, and I encourage you to share what you're implementing with your healthcare providers. They can offer valuable insights specific to your health situation and help you integrate these approaches with any existing treatment. Above all, I want you to know that nocturnal panic, no matter how long you've experienced it, does not define you or limit your possibilities. It's simply a pattern that your nervous system has developed, and patterns can be changed with the right approach. The wisdom, resilience, and perspective you've gained through your life journey are powerful assets in this process of reclaiming peaceful nights. I wish you restful nights, calm hearts, and the profound sense of safety that comes from knowing you have effective tools to address anxiety when it arises. Thank you for your courage in facing this challenge, and please know that each step you take toward greater peace ripples outward, positively affecting everyone whose lives you touch.